I would like to speak tonight about marriage, arranged marriage versus love. And I do believe that each culture has the right to continue with tradition. And I also believe that it is up to the people getting married whether they want to follow their culture or not. Some of you may think that I'm in no position to be talking about love or marriage, but I was young at one point and I was in love and I was wanting to get married because I did not want to be out there in the world. I had already had two boyfriends and married my third boyfriend and was hoping that it would be the last. I was not necessarily a promiscuous person by any means, but I was not, I was a typical girl and perhaps a little bit more shy than others, but certainly not promiscuous. Having been raised in the West and at a time without my parents being overprotective and without me being under a religion, I knew I wanted to get married and was hoping to marry my high school sweetheart. And we were discouraged from getting married because we were quote unquote too young. And we were both encouraged to go on our separate ways so that we could find ourselves before getting married as an adult. And I do believe that had I married my high school sweetheart, I do believe that it would have been better for me, that it would have been better for me as far as my future and my welfare and well-being, my finances, everything. Because my high school sweetheart was a very respectful young man. I'm sure he still is. He was one to get along with both his parents, and I, believe it or not, got along with both my parents at one point. My parents, my mom and my stepfather, whenever they had their marital problems, they would come to me. And I was, in a way, a counselor, in that I would sit and listen. And I was a good girl. I got along with my parents. I was never disrespectful. If I ever spoke something that was out of my heart, I would speak it to my mom. My mom was a disciplinarian. She would go overboard sometimes, but all in all, I forgave my mom and we got along. A lot of things have happened. A lot of things. And I believe that is the work of Satan, what has happened in my family. It's like a domino effect. A domino effect in that he said, she said, and then it just goes. But when Alexander was picked up without court orders, based on allegations that I was potentially suicidal, that was like whomever did this was hoping that I would commit suicide. I do believe that. I believe that they were hoping that I would commit suicide and that my son Alexander would be kidnapped and something bad happened to my son. Whomever orchestrated this. So when I went ahead and just spoke all truth inside of me, was not in any way, shape, or form to damage my family, rather was to save my son, because my family has been the opposite of united. My immediate family, they have been the opposite of united, because my mother did not raise her children to be united. So when I searched and I tried to unite the family, both of my father's and my mother's, it was always like, no, we're not interested in getting together, we're not getting along, for various reasons. So I kind of moved on and left it alone and just got along with everyone. And then when I needed support, moral and financial, for the first time ever, nobody was expecting that out of me. I was always the one that was there, and goody goody two shoes, as my sister Jennifer would call me. But there was a lot of resentment and a lot of grudges among them and toward me when I was going through this divorce that took 5 years. And a lot of things that were people speculate without having a conversation with you and asking, what happened? What is happening? They just speculate, and then they hold a grudge based on what they think is real. And so it just goes down into a deep tunnel that you may never get out of. But I have been pulled out of dark, and I have lifted you with me. You were with me. Not everybody is able to get out of a tunnel in time. Some people go in darkness. So, I want to talk about marriage and love. I do believe in marriage. I believe in love. I believe that marriage is a business. I believe that when you stay at home and you clean after someone, which oftentimes the wife who stays at home does, she is a maid, basically, a housekeeper. And oftentimes, husbands go without recognizing. And oftentimes there's a resentment because of this. So, I did not desire, when I was young, I did not desire to stay at home. I wanted a career. I went in the military because I wanted a career. I did not envision myself sitting around the house. Whatever it is that women do. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but she had 5 children. So she was busy sometimes when we were home, but when the kids would go to school, she would, sit down and have her cigarette and her coffee. And her lifestyle was not necessarily pampered, because we came from Panama, where we had a housekeeper. My mom had a housekeeper even before she married my stepfather. And when she married my stepfather, she lost her benefits as a widow from a military bodyguard to the general before Noriega. And these men were not at all involved in corruption. They died, they were murdered because of corruption. And so my mother had benefits as a widow, and her husband, before he passed away, he had actually purchased an apartment for her, a 3-bedroom apartment, which at the time was actually pretty nice, pretty comfortable, because it was a brand new building. It was a brand new apartment with brand new furniture, and my mom had money, to sustain her children and to sustain the housekeeper. And she had a car that was free, and the gas was for free also. She was able to go to headquarters in Panama for the military base, the Panamanian, and was able to fill up with gas. So my mom was an independent woman after becoming a widow. And then she married my stepfather because she was concerned about the children, growing up without a father figure, and was concerned that her benefits might run out one day, from the new general taking over Noriega. And, she was aware that there was corruption there, so she could foresee some needs in the future. So she married my stepfather, but they both married without love. My mom married out of necessity because she had 4 children and became pregnant with the 5th child. And my stepfather married my mom because he felt pressured that she was pregnant with his child. So he was 5 years younger than my mom, but loved her enough, but was feeling pressured because of the baby. And he offered my mom an abortion, and my mom said no. So they ended up having my brother. But my stepfather, I do believe that he regretted that. My mom, I'm sure she, has no regrets of having my brother. But we should not emulate, the not so good in one another. And I wanted to marry somebody before becoming pregnant. I wanted to marry out of love. I wanted to marry somebody whom I didn't depend on financially. So I'm, in my early 20s. My husband was 14 years older than I. He had already been married, been divorced, obviously, and had a daughter that was only 6 years younger than I. And I thought to myself, with everything that I had seen up until that time, I thought to myself, I would like to marry somebody older so that I'm always the younger woman. And I don't want to be with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. I want to be with somebody who's already been there, done that, and is tired of being out there, having been doing whatever men do when they're single after going through a divorce. And the reason why I thought this way is because my husband at the time, he, when we were dating, he told me that he wanted to be, with somebody young and fresh. And he let me know that he wanted somebody fresh. And then I knew what he meant because he made it abundantly clear. And so I was still in my human growth and development. I was still a kid, according to Maria Montessori. And I was one of those kids. I did well in the military. I scored above 90% on both my upgrading tests. I was enjoying the military at the time. And yeah, it could be stressful, at times. But I wanted to get my GI Bill and continue moving up. It was never the desire of my heart to become stagnant. And men and women, when they don't like somebody and they're in a position to sabotage somebody's career and livelihood, they can and they do, and it does happen. So some women felt that I was somehow a wicked, evil person because of what my husband was teaching me. He was teaching me that, that younger women are better. And when we were going through a divorce that took a long time, he made it clear that, he said, women are over the hill at 25. That's what he told me. And I knew that wasn't true, but he said it. And so I was on a mission. I was on a mission to lose my weight, to have some sex appeal, because I had been nursing my baby. I knew that was temporary, but I wanted to do it right. I wanted to do everything well. Whatever it is that I was doing, I wanted to do it well. So when he hurt me over and over and over, and was making me feel that not valued. Had I married any other man, my life would have turned out completely different. Completely different. But he clearly wanted to sabotage my getting married in the future. And, it's funny how this can work out for a man doing this to a woman, but not the other way around. Men are not scrutinized the way women are. Women are scrutinized big time, whether you do or not do. Whether you stay home or go to work. It just depends on who's looking at you and who's judging you without being God. So, I've lived through so much. And I still believe in love and marriage after all that I've been through. I believe that men and women who are with a significant other or, in a marriage should not be sharing their spouse with anyone else and should not turn a blind eye when their husband or significant other is watching pornography or in a relationship with another woman, whether it be at work or online. Because online relationships can become real and are real. And a lot of men resort to that nowadays. My mom's friend, Beth, she brought this up to my attention, and I had no idea, because I learn from y'all when you bring it up to my attention. So I gather the information and I sum it up and then I put it out there. And some people hate me for doing that. And I'm just interpreting what I'm receiving. So, because I have an analytical mind and investigative eyes. Okay? For example, when I scan, back and forth, the same thing over and over and over, I have a pattern. I have some kind of a autism, I'm aware, because I can listen to the same song over and over and over, and it 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 only satisfies me. It does not drive me crazy like it would drive the average person crazy. I can do the same thing over and over and over. I can make the same food over and over and over because I can. I can make omelets every day, make pasta with shrimp every day, because I have become accustomed to doing things over and over. So, when I lived with Alexander's father, Alexander and Jacob are 11 years apart. I was given the opportunity at having a family all over again. I was fooled. And I thought, yeah, I would like to do that. I would like to be a mom and take care of my kid and have a family unit. Why not? Because that's what God wants for me. Otherwise, He wouldn't have put it in my heart. If God did not want that for me, He would not have put it in my heart. Everything I do has to do with family unit. Everything. Even the bad. So, as I scan back and forth the aisles of Marshalls or TJ Maxx, because that's how I cry. I don't cry physically, but I cry in a very unique way, because we all cry different. That's the way I cry. I go shopping. Even if it's window shopping, that is the way that I cry. Or I write. That's the way that I cry. So, when you read poetry, just know that that person who wrote it was exactly in that mood when he or she wrote it. And that is coming from the bottom of their heart, and they didn't have to do any deep thinking about it. It just comes out like pouring out. So, a song is a poem. Okay? And the Word of God, whether it's a Bible or the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, the book from God that He has given you according to your language and your culture is a love letter from God to His children. So it's like He's pouring out for you through the prophets, because God is spirit and we are physical. He manifests Himself, and we are parts of the body which hold the Spirit of God. So if God had not put it in me, the desire to be a wife and a mother, then I would not be hurting. I would be happy. Just like, you know what? If Alexander's dad wants to keep him, just whatever. And I would have just hooked up with my friend Charlie. Because Charlie was treating me really nice. You know? Let's go eat. Let's go out. Let's do this. Whatever. But I was not in love with my friend Charlie. So I didn't want to be with somebody that I was not. I didn't want to hurt him. You know? I didn't want to hurt him. So from the very beginning I told him, I don't want a relationship like that. But I do want a friendship. And I don't want to ruin the friendship by doing something that we shouldn't. And so from the very beginning. But my friend Charlie's good company. He's a gentleman. He's old school, you know. But our age difference, there's a big gap. And so I didn't feel right, because it was more like a father-daughter relationship, friendship, but also father-daughter. And I'm not into those kind of relationships. So, do I believe that a woman needs to be younger than the man? I believe that it depends on the maturity of the man. There are men who want to be with an older woman for the experience, and maybe they need some nurturing. But I don't think that that's necessarily ideal. I mean, it has happened and it does happen. But I believe that it depends on the maturity of, the man, and what a woman, where she's at in life. Here in the West is so different, so much more complex than in the East, I feel. In the East it's a lot more simple. You've got tradition and you just accept it, and it works out oftentimes well. But I'm 47 years old. I'll be 48 this year. I've never been on a dating site, and I've encouraged somebody once to get on a dating site, and she was past 40. But the reason why I encouraged her to do that, it was only one person, is because she was a widow, and she was so much grieving at the fact that her husband was gone, and she was lonely, and she really loved him, and she really wanted to so much be married, and that was her only husband she had ever had. And she married, when she was already a mature woman in her late 30s or early 40s. She was up there in age, and very mature, and married an alcoholic, and he killed himself through the drinking. It's a horrible vice. So she suffered. They were only married for 6 months before he died. So she was wanting to so much make love, be romantic, and all of that was gone with the man that she loved. So I encouraged her to get on a dating site, and she did, and she found love. She found not only an intelligent man, but also another widow. So, and he had financial stability and was able to take care of her. And they didn't have a big age difference at all. So it was like ideal for her. So I don't think that I could ever get on a dating site because of all that has happened in the past 3 years since Alexander was taken. All that I have said and written, and the way I have said it, I don't think that any man out there would want to have a intimacy with me because all of this has been so public that there could never be any privacy between us. And believe in me, all that I desire and all that I've ever desired is privacy. I've always liked my privacy, but I was not going to risk my son's life. So I had to choose, and I chose to go public with it. And I knew the repercussions of going public with it. I knew that I was going to get all kinds of what some people call a media or social suicide. I knew that I was going to be committing social suicide. And so I do like my privacy. I do like marriage. I do believe in love. And I do believe that women and men need to have a sexual relationship on a regular basis. This is why I don't believe that a man or a woman should be having extramarital affair, because you are cheating your significant other, your partner, from that. And not only are you cheating them, but then you could also give them a disease. So it's like, no matter how you look at it, it's dangerous and it's wrong. And I know that here in the West, we have these marriages. They've reached a point where the husband and the wife have made an agreement. And I mean, it's been brought up to my attention. This is not something that I go seeking. But it has been brought up to my attention that the wife will have her affairs and the husband will have his affairs, or have a significant other. And I believe that if they're going to do that, they may as well just get divorced. You know, just get divorced and move on. You know, because to me that's just that's sick. It's sick. You either are with somebody and you respect them and you love them, or you're not. And there's a lot of cheating online. But anyway, my mom's friend, Beth, told me that her husband had been stationed overseas for a duty that was close to a year, either past a year or right before a year. And he was stationed overseas in the East, and that all of them are given laptops, and that both men and women who are stationed there, whether they're married or not, most of them, according to her, but then again, I wasn't there, but this is her perspective, and she said that according to her husband, that most people were having affairs online, you know, or with one another overseas. So I do believe that a lot of this military training that takes people away from their spouse is just an excuse. I mean, everything that we're doing is monitored and recorded. You know, all our phone call conversations, all the emails, the social media, everything. And even our personal space. And I do believe that these things are done to further study human behavior, to further encourage, you know, these sexual promiscuity. Because what else are people going to do away from their spouse for a long period of time? Because sex is a necessity. It really is. And so you either take care of yourself or you have an affair. And either way, somebody's going to say that it's wrong. Well, I don't think that it's wrong at all to have sex with your significant other or with your husband or your wife. But if you are away from your spouse for a long time because of work, you know, I believe that this should not be. You should be able to bring your spouse with you, or if it's a dangerous situation, then we just need to avoid these dangerous situations. And training, all this training away from your spouse is not good for the family unit. And this is why I believe that the military needs to reconsider all of these things and needs to consider what I am saying, because it has been brought up to my attention. Just like people in the Navy, you know, on a ship for months and months. I remember when I was an infertility clinic manager, we had a wait list of 1 year, and one of the patients cursed me. And she said, look, my husband is going to be home for only 3 months, you know, and it's going to be soon. So I need to get in like now. I cannot wait a year. My husband's only going to be here for 3 months, and I would like for us to get pregnant. And most people don't get pregnant, especially when they're pushing it, when they're pressured. the less stress the person, the more likely they'll become pregnant for both men and women. Because sometimes the man, the sperm, is not healthy because he could have been exposed, to something in the environment, but also if he's a stressed in a stressful situation, his sperm may not be healthy, and the wife, if she has been exposed to something in the environment that can keep her from becoming pregnant, but also if she's under stress, that can definitely keep her from getting pregnant. And not only that, but it can cause cancer. So, psychologists know this. So they shouldn't be taking kids away from moms, because that can stress both the child and the mom. And also, it halts the human growth and development of the child. And psychologists know this, but they're trying to create a problem that wasn't. Because I'm not going to say that I'm a psychologist, but I could be. I very well know what y'all know. I know how you study and what you study, and how you publish and what you publish, and what you have learned and are continuing to learn. But sometimes it's an excuse just to watch pornography. For example, I was listening to these kids who were missionaries at one point. They were Mormons, and as a Mormon, they have to go on these missions, and some of them have become sarcastic and have lost some of their faith, and have put out videos about why they're not Mormons anymore, or how they were deceived. One of the young man, he was already married. He is a good-looking, mature young man, married a beautiful, mature young lady, and they have children together. Beautiful couple, all-American couple. They were both Mormons, and they were both missionaries, and they lost their faith in that religion. And I'm not speaking from me, I'm speaking from what they were putting out. And the gentleman explained that during one of his mission trips, he was doing it for a while, and the guy who was training him, one of the leaders, put his hand on his thigh and squeezed his thigh and said, I get more and more gay, and I think the way he worded it was, I get gayer and gayer as the time goes by. It's because he was just training boys to be, to do this for the church. And he's out there, and he may or may not have been gay, but that's all that he has to see and to be with. So I do believe that homosexuality can be natural, but I also believe that it can be created, socially created. And I believe that that is wrong, to be socially creating anything, purposely creating something that you know what you're doing, and you're trying to change the nature by just changing the environment of, that person or their situations. And so this young man was kind of spooked out by that, and he was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. He left, and he got married and has beautiful children. And the Mormon kids that I met in Virginia prior to joining the military, they were beautiful kids. Just beautiful, very wholesome. And I don't have anything against the Mormon culture at all. But it's just, I'm just putting it out there that these are points of view that need to be considered when we send people on these mission trips away from home. You know, I think about how the church has their eye on everything and everyone because we're all quote unquote being studied. Because for a long time they've been looking for the Jesus and the Antichrist when they should know that they are sons and daughters of God and that God dwells in us. And that, just like Jesus was the Son, we are the sons and daughters, and that we are the body of Christ, and that Satan is not to our right, and that's a choice that we make, that we need to choose Jerusalem as our blueprint. But, as Christians, that's what you believe. I have already summed it up for you. I have highlighted it for you in these past 3 years. So it's like, what are we doing? So I have come to the conclusion that when these kids are sent out there on these mission trips, that there are cameras in their bedrooms. And, they put 2 and 2, 2 girls and 2 boys. And, all of this stuff, folks, I believe that human growth and development is that person's right, to grow and develop, the way that they want to grow up and develop. Because there comes a time when you make your choices, and serving God has nothing to do with being placed in these monitored situations just with an excuse to watch kiddie porn. And I've come to this conclusion because I have, and I will highlight it for you. So I've learned a lot of things in the military. I've learned to shine my boots and make hospital corners and put my hair up above my collar and tuck everything in so I don't look like a sack of potatoes. I still today, I have some very military mannerisms that I'm grateful to have learned. The way I fold my clothes so that it'll fit in smaller spaces, the way I can be organized. And it's not OCD. I mean, some people can perceive that as OCD, but whatever. Everybody has their ways, and it has all to do with nature and nurture. And remember, when kids join the military, they're still children. They're still growing and developing. So a lot of their nature is going to be shaped by their nurture in the military or wherever, whatever situations, whether you're working for the church as a, as a missionary or whatever. But it has to be a calling. You shouldn't be forced to do anything. You should have a calling in to do what you love and love what you do. But I still today don't like to see hair on the floor. I will pick up after my hair in the bathroom, the shower, and just to avoid it piling up. I don't like to see a mess. I like to clean it up right away. But when you're not in your house, there's only so much you can do. And it keeps you from being able to express yourself, because decorating is the way that you express yourself, and decorating is so important because it's your environment. It's like, this is my space, this is the way I want to decorate. And nowadays, with the way that people are teaching one another with their videos, I'm not able to teach. All I can do is complain about how corrupt this world is, and this DHR situation. And I'm not in a situation where I can say, oh, this is how I paint furniture, and this is my son Alexander, and we're going to be finger painting, and we're going to go to the thrift shop, and I'm going to teach you how to save money, because I do like to shop. Oh yes, I do. I love shopping, and I I don't cry, but the way I cry is I go shopping. And men know this. Men and women know this. They know that when a woman is unhappy, she'll go shopping, and she's better. And a lot of men, I think, do that to their wives, to pacify them. Like, here's a credit card, leave me alone. I'll watch TV, and I'll, have my beer and hang out with the boys, or me and my TV, and you go do whatever you want. And that can hurt. That hurts the relationship, and I know it. I know because I've seen it. So I just want to let you know that I do believe in marriage. I do believe in love, and I do believe in the family unit. And everything that I do is for the family unit, not against it. But if I had to do it all over again, I would have my children again. I would choose my children over anything else. Because, yes, it is true, I have stretch marks. I have a C-section scar. My body's not the same. But my children are mine. And they're God's children as well. And I would choose them, Jacob and Alexander, Alexander and Jacob, all over again. So, I'm 47, I'll be 48, and I know that there are people who think, this lady, she's committed social suicide. Well, I did that so that it's done. Nobody can kill the Spirit of God. It's done. What's been said has been said, and what has been written has been written. And the way that I speak to the nations is the way that I speak to the nations, because I've committed social suicide. Because when DHR came to that school, my son's school, on a Friday at 3 p.m., without a court order, with their harassment and coercion and bullying, interrogation, the violation of my rights and my son's rights, without a court order, with this illegality, and took my son based on allegations that I was potentially suicidal. They were hoping I would commit suicide so that I wouldn't speak. So I had to commit social suicide so that I could speak the truth inside of me. And I have spoken, and I have written, and it will be there forever. Notice I don't sign my work. I did sign my poetry at first, and then I just said, you know what? Nowadays, everything is swapped. Everything is swapped, It doesn't matter who wrote it, because it came from the Spirit. So, we are chosen by God. You and I, us. We are chosen by God to listen to the Spirit in us, to listen to the Father, to read our books that He has given us without self-righteousness that our religion is superior to anyone else, because faith is above religion and God is above all. So the time has come for us to open up our books and read for ourselves the truth that is highlighted for us. See, when I was staying with Mr. and Mrs. Miller, I had a vision that this book was opened before me. It was the Bible, because I am here in the West, and I am a non-denominational Christian, and I believe in Jews, and I believe in Muslims. I believe that they are just as right as I am. And I love people. I love the Muslims and the Jews. And I would love to go to the East someday. And I would love to set up, like we set up buffet here at my job, where I've worked, my various jobs. And to set up buffet and say to those people out there in the field who are tired and who are hungry and who are thirsty and who are crying, but they're not crying. It's like me. I go back and forth, back and forth. The same route. I take the same route. I just let James give me that credit card, and I'll tell him, I'm going to exchange something. I'm going to return something. I'm going to, get milk. He knows what I'm doing, because I work here. I'm the housekeeper. So, I have worked. And when these men are out there fighting for a cause that they may or may not understand, they're serious about it. They have a gun, they have a mission, and they're potentially dangerous. And they're crying inwardly. They don't have a home, a family, or if they do, everyone's family is always at risk of being killed. Everyone's association with one another and communications is a threat, because that's how they defend themselves, because they don't know any other way. So, for somebody like me who's committed social suicide, I have nothing to fear and nothing to hide. So, I wouldn't mind going over there and setting up out there in the field and telling these men, look, I'm setting up some food. You want some? Some coffee? Come. And I'm not doing anything. I don't have a gun. They may behead me, but it doesn't matter, because the Spirit of God never dies. Isn't this what suicide bombers do? They'll just go into a building, or they go into a crowd with a bomb strapped to them because they don't mind dying for the cause. But I don't have a bomb. No. I have a vision of this centrifuge. It's like a centrifuge. Because I used to work in the infertility clinic, so I know about centrifuge. You have to put the sample from the man, and you have to put it in a vial, and you have to put it in the centrifuge to separate the goodies from the other, and then you take the goodies and put it up in the mommy. And that's what we did at that clinic. It wasn't in vitro fertilization, that was just artificial insemination at that level. So, but make a long story short, I know what a centrifuge looks like. So when I had this vision of a centrifuge, I was able to go up and down. It's like these strings that go up and down. It looks like a centrifuge, but there's like water coming out from the centrifuge down to the earth. And I'm going up and down, these strings. And the centrifuge is vacant, full of vacant cells. And the papa's right in the middle. And I can go directly up to the papa and sit on his lap and hug on him, and he can hug on me. And I'm in no danger. I'm in no danger whatsoever. And then 2 cells from mine, I'm like directly in front of the papa, okay? And directly next to the lines. And so 2 cells down is an Asian female with 2 children. I don't know what that means. Whatever that means, that vision, because all my visions have a reason. So pay attention to your visions. Pay attention to your dreams. Keep a journal. All of these things are meaningful and inspirational. So I have no bomb strapped to me. Okay? I'm not working for any government using my God-given intelligence to develop weapons. No. I just had a vision of this restaurant, a round restaurant with a kitchen in the middle and these 3 levels. The lowest level where people can be at the kitchen level, and they don't have any privacy, everything's open, and they're in the center. And then there's this middle level where the plants are, and the middle level is for people who want to have more private conversations. They don't want to be in the middle like a spectacle, a little bit more private. But then you have this upper level where the PP rooms are. And these PP rooms are past present communication. But also, PP means Peter and Paul. Remember, it's not Peter, Satan, it's Jerusalem. And Paul is the last apostle for the Gentiles, which come in. Because the Jews have always been on the inside. They're the natural. So the PP rooms is also for past present communication, for patience and persistence, for Peter and Paul, and peaceful protest. Protest is you keep on and you keep on and you keep on persisting peacefully. I don't have any bombs and guns, and I would not use my God-given intelligence to develop such weapons. So sometimes when you are a peaceful person, you can be considered a terrorist because you are not using your God-given gifts to develop weapons for the military, but you are against weapons, and this in itself can make you a dangerous person. So, since I am considered, whatever it is, crazy, unstable, financially unstable, mentally unstable, over the hill, I will go on the hill, and I would like to set up, some food. It's a banquet And I would like to invite these terrorists, because they may not be terrorists. They may just be doing what they think is right. And I would like to talk to them. I would like to share a cup of coffee with them and find out what their names are, how old they are, how many children they have, and how they met their wives, and what their upbringing was like. I would like to know, because I am sure that these men have a heart. Oh, if they didn't have a heart, then they wouldn't be walking. If they didn't have a brain, they wouldn't be walking and breathing. So they have a heart and a brain. Therefore, remember, the heart is to earth as the head is to heaven. And there's a connection between these two things. And there's a connection between these two things. So, yeah, I would like to do that. I would like to go on over there and let them know that I'm there, not with any religion, no, just with no fear. And say, hey, let's have a cup of coffee. I've always enjoyed a cup of coffee with a friend, you know, in food. I would love to exchange some recipe for, you know, hummus or baba ganoush. I mean, people will say how important these foods are for them, especially the hummus. And they'll say that their hummus is better and their coffee is better. I would like to see if this is true. I would love to give them the opportunity to make the best hummus, the best coffee that they can make, and then we can sample and have a contest. Because healthy competition is healthy. And olive oil and garlic and chickpeas is very healthy for our health. So, remember that we are what we eat, and you know, we need to have a healthy heart and a healthy mind. So, we don't need to be studying people the way we have anymore. And I believe that all of this that's happening with the swapping of everything, I believe it's going to work out for everyone's benefit in the long run, because those of you who have done some not good things, your sin will be covered. Your sin will be forgiven, which we have already been forgiven. We have already been forgiven. It's already happened. We were lifted up to the right, into He, and He into us simultaneously, into the womb of His heart. This is the secret place, the womb of His heart, to grow and develop, so we can be born of God's light and be the light. So, I would like for y'all to think about these things. And I also believe that the former president of Iran is a very intelligent and peaceful man. Very intelligent, very peaceful, and very patient, and very respectful, and very wise. And I believe the same from President Putin. And I believe that we, men and women, need to start looking at one another that way. It's like, you know, there's something to be learned from you. You're not perfect, and neither am I, but we can learn from one another. So I cry when I go up and down the aisles of Marshalls and TJ Maxx, but you know, I like to be walking and not necessarily at the park, because at the park is painful. But if my friend James would come along to walk with me, that would be, we could have intelligent conversations. But my friend James is not interested in seeing the intelligent side of me. Not face to face. No. I know he studies me, but he doesn't communicate with me face to face. He avoids me. And this is a problem. Because if he wants to grow and develop as a human being, then he needs to grow up and develop by speaking with me directly, face to face, and not monitoring me. So I hope you understand, James, that God is speaking to you. Read your book, okay? It's wide open for you. He highlights it for you, what he wants you to read. There's so many resources. There's BibleGateway.com. Because if you're going to be on the phone, you may as well be reading something good for you, for your heart, and for your brain. Because we are what we eat. So, eat the scroll before you. So, I hope y'all have a nice evening, and I do believe in marriage, in love, in family, and I believe that each culture has been given, their customs, and we need to respect everyone's decision. And if somebody, wants to detach from their culture and move on to another culture, we've had where people from the East want to come to the West, and from the West who want to go to the East and become Muslims. So we shouldn't be punishing people who make these decisions as grown adults. If you want to go to the East or the West because your heart is there, then we, the family members, need to respect that adult's decision to follow their heart and not kill the family members or scrutinize them. And I believe that husbands need to understand that their wives are not just an object that they own, but somebody to get to know and nurture, and she will take care of you in return, and you will grow old together and happy and satisfied. So I believe that we need to be taking breaks from war and take a break from developing weapons of mass destruction. This is not going to shut down the economy in that industry. We just need to reroute and rethink how we use the materials. There are so many shelters, buildings, structures that need to be strengthened. Buildings and bridges and all kinds of things that need to be strengthened. We can very well be utilizing the resources and the materials in that manner. So it's not going to put you out of business. It's just that we need to rethink how we're using the materials. our precious resources. We have so much water and air to clean in Asia. In China, the air needs to be cleaned. And in India, the water needs to be cleaned. In America, our systems need to be cleaned. Absolutely. And we need to, here in America, stop criticizing people in the East without getting to know them. Stop fearing people in the East without getting to know them. Sit down as grown men, wise and mature, with your differences and with your common goal, which is to restore the earth. I'm sure that is your common goal. So do sit down and share that strong cup of coffee and eat healthy food with plenty of olive oil. And do go out there and reach out to those men with guns in the fields and say, we come in peace. We fear you not. And they'll respect you because they will see that you don't fear them. They're tired. They're hungry. These men don't even know how important their wives' tender touch and aromatherapy can be so therapeutic. They have forgotten if they ever even knew it. They need to smell the essential oils. This pacifies the wicked. We hold the leaves for the healing of one another. We need to smell. It's therapeutic. We need to hug. The human touch is so important. It's so therapeutic. And DHR here in America knows that these children are needing their parents' hugs on a daily basis. So stop taking kids away from their parents for profit. Because the court can very well be defending those who have been wronged by our very systems. There's money to be made in the right way. So, y'all have a blessed evening.